Hi, this is Makers Ask. I'm Blue Reid. Today I'd like to talk to you about how to go from, gee, I think I'd like to paint, or you can start with, I have this great idea for a painting, all the steps through to finished product. So from concept to completion. And so the first thing that you might do, I'll tell you what I do. How's that? I often come up with concept first in my mind. And then what I do from there is I usually take it to my sketchbook and I might write down just title names, or I might start sketching up something. So my sketchbook is never far from me. I'm trying to come to a page where anyway, I might start drawing something like this. I want to do an angel, whatever, come up with the idea. And then from there, I usually start to do some photography. So the piece I'm going to be working on, I shot 3 photographs today. That's not true. I shot 150 photographs today, but I shot photographs for 3 separate paintings. I'm doing a series that will be 25 at least paintings long, wide, however you want to say that. So I've done the first 3, so I photographed 3 more. So that's the second thing I want to do. I have a concept and then I want to photograph. Sometimes instead you can say, I want to be a painter. I really want to be a painter and I don't know what I have to say. I don't know what the concept is going to be. So for that, it's a little bit different. And I like to say that your inspiration, people are always asking me this question about inspiration, and I may cover this more fully in another video, but you already have all that you need to do pretty much anything, but especially in art, when people say, I have to come up with another good idea. To me, that is like the most surefire way to chase any good idea away, is to, run after it really fast, like I like to make the association that inspiration is not like a puppy that likes to be played with and chased around, It's more like a cat, a full-grown cat. If you'll quiet your mind and give yourself some time and space to just sit with your eyes quiet and closed, maybe you're outside, whatever it is, but distraction-free at least, and then just really try to quiet story. Oftentimes, what's most important to you will just flood in. So you find often that the cat is just right there in your lap. So you can think about it like that. If you're running after an idea, if you're chasing after it, you're efforting and you're pushing, you're probably doing yourself a great disservice and making it a lot harder for that idea to just come and be with you. So with that in mind, it's said, a lot is said about the subject of art, but it is said that art is anything that makes you think and feel, think or feel, one or the other. So a good place to start then is, of course, anything you think and feel a lot about. So either something you love, you cannot do without, or something you hate, absolutely hate, drives you crazy. But the more passionate the more passionately you feel about it, the better chance you have of convincing somebody else of your opinion, which is really, at least for conceptual art, that's the point, right? You're trying to express yourself in an effort to open someone's eyes to something. I like to say that pretty much all conceptual art is really saying the same thing about different subjects. It's saying, wake up, stop, or look, or pay attention. It's pretty much the same message is what I've noticed, but that's just my observation. So that's a good place to start. Then the ideas flood in. And then maybe with the ideas, because our right brains and our inspirational mind doesn't always have words, it comes in pictures, which is handy for art, which is why art's a good idea for this kind of process. Start to brainstorm about what symbols might go with the idea, and take it to your sketchbook and draw, right? And they can be tiny and they don't have to be accurate. Nobody has to see it. You can throw them out later, whatever. But the less stressful that process is, the more creative you'll be, the more you'll be sinking into that side of you that is the artist. So then, so your drawing and your photography can kind of go back and forth. I can decide all I want in my sketchbook, how something's gonna look. And when I get to the camera and I start setting things up the way I want to have some scrap, I like to paint representationally. So I'm making another assumption that you also like to represent things accurately. If that's the case, you're gonna be much better off if you have really good reference material, or they call that scrap. So photography, or you set up a still life in front of you. So if you're painting flowers, which could be conceptual art in some way, but it'd be great if you had it in front of you, right? But the flower will die, so you might also want to take a picture because it'll only look the same for, well, an hour, 2 hours. By the next day it may go, you know, so good idea to do that. And you can't replace it with a different flower because it'll be a different flower. So assuming that you don't want just the general idea of something, you want to paint something very specific. So photography is a good way to go, and it's a great idea to shoot your own photography because then you have the right to use it any way you see fit, and you can copy it all you want or whatever. If you're using somebody else's photography, you have some copyright things to be aware of. Like you cannot, let's say I really like Ansel Adams and I want to paint one of his landscapes. I have the right to do that, that's fine. I can hang it on my dining room wall, I can even give it to my grandmother. The minute I go and try to sell it in a gallery, I have an issue of I'm stealing from him, actually. So, or his, you know, family, whatever. So you can't do that. You can't use somebody else's photography and represent it as yours and then go sell it. So you'll be into some trouble, but also it's not the right thing to do. So, so if you're going to use photography, let's say you are going to use somebody else's picture from Facebook or whatever, you have the right to do that so long as you change it 30%, which is pretty subjective. How do I know if it's 30% changed? It's actually up to a court to decide. So you get into some stuff when you start using somebody else's photography and or somebody else's painting. That's how to avoid that. So if you take your own pictures, you can be really specific about how you set things up, and you don't have any copyright problems. From there, I typically will print out 2 of the picture I took. I've gone through all my pictures. That's another thing. When I set up my photography, I think I know exactly what I want, and my sketchbook says I know exactly what I want. I get there and I find that, you know what, I think the light sort looks a lot better over here or over there or whatever. So I want to stay really fluid. And maybe I need to go back to my sketchbook and resketch some things. So stay open to those ideas. And then I make myself take a lot more pictures than I thought I would need to take. I think I need 1. I take 50 because I find that sometimes I can allow myself more leeway and I move things around and then I go, whoa, the magic was in number 23. So good thing I did 25. Yeah, so be open to that. Then I print out two versions, and one I like to grid up so that I can transfer the drawing. I don't like to trace, and I don't like to use projectors and things like that. I've got no problems with it. If that's how you work, great, do it. It's not how I work. I value the drawing process, so that's important to me. I get to know it better when I draw it, so that for me is not a skippable process. After I transfer the drawing, and I'm going to show you that step, then we go to paint. So that's where I'm going to stop this video for now. This is what to do before you get to the easel. So this is Maker's Ask. I'm Blue, and I hope that was helpful for you.